Thank you so very much for joining us on April 1st, 2023. We're so grateful that you're with us and celebrating 2 years. 2 years of, seems like yesterday that we were on that tragic day, April 2nd, 2021, and here we are 2 years later. So we're so grateful you're joining us and having the wonderful opportunity to celebrate what God is doing in Natalie's life.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to have you.
All right, so obviously last year's video, from where we were at to where we're at today, it feels like there was like a lot more life and death stuff that happened the first year. And you
More
go
tragedy.
from, more tragedy. So we're grateful to be out of that. But you kind of get into the
mundane.
Yeah, the trenches almost day in, day out, especially with a brain injury. That's where the growth happens, just the repetitiveness of all the different therapies and that kind of stuff. And we've seen a ton of growth over the last year with the different therapies that we have done and continue to do.
I think it can feel slow for us because we see it every day, but even in preparation for these videos, going back and looking at what she was doing last year, it gives you a better perspective of the huge changes that she's made that we often seem to miss because we're with her every day, living the forward backwards every day of feeling like, oh, she's doing great. Oh, she took a couple of steps back. Oh, she's doing great. So it was cool to see just the huge progress from a year as I looked back on some of the videos.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we've seen, I mean, if you remember back, they essentially said she's going to be a body in a bed. And then we got home. One of the first things that we were able to hit was MNRI therapy, which is really the reintegration of the reflexes. They're kind of 9 main primitive reflexes that we're kind of working on and reintegrating. And she went from literally being a body in a bed to being able to go to the bathroom on her own. Eat, yes. Roll over, the startle reflex. So all these different things that a normal baby goes through, that on a global brain injury and HIE, the body sort of resets, and so you have to go through all of these things again. So,
but resets and forgets. As you see, like with a baby, you see them do these natural reactions of grabbing your finger, and you just think like, oh, that's so cute, but that's actually just a reflex that baby is doing. And then to see Natalie not doing that and retraining those things in her feet, in her hands, in her back, it all seems very strange to start off the journey and see them doing these exercises on her that seem and feel like they're doing nothing. But then as you see the progress that she's made from walking on her toes because she couldn't get her feet flat to now taking proper steps. Yeah, so she does the MNRI therapy in Newport Beach that we try to stagger with. Curtis mentioned Dr. Bohr in Phoenix, who's the functional neurologist, and he does just a lot of intensive focuses on her eyes and her vision and laser therapy, and we try to stagger those out so they get separated by about 3 months. And also in Arizona, she does the stem cells, which was really a breakthrough for us last year. As we made these videos, she had just had her first stem cells, and kind of like what Curtis is referencing, she had just started to kind of baby babble, and we were nervous to say anything, nervous to say she's starting to talk for fear that it would just fall back, but it has just exploded. And you can carry on a full-on conversation with her. She's joking and witty and sassy and sarcastic, asking lots of good questions. And I think we would both accredit that to the stem cells and just the fact that she's been able to get that procedure. She's had it 3 times now, and it's just been a huge blessing for us be able to have that therapy.
Yeah, and just so that you know, when we say stem cells, sometimes people are like, whoa, what are you doing? Stem cells are bad. The stem cell therapy that we do, they take the stem cells out of her side, they centrifuge it, they separate it all, they then extract the stem cells, they wash them, and then they stick them back in her sacrum. That goes up and down the spine. They give her an enzyme that breaks down the blood-brain barrier that we give in the evenings.
Through a nose spray.
Yep, through a nose spray, and then that kind of helps with that. But we saw probably at about the 5-week mark of stem cell therapy, like it's like, boom, something happens. It's been kind of interesting because each time it's been something different. One time it was the talking, and it was a little bit of the walking and moving, and this last time it was the talking again. Talking and walking, but it seems like the talking has sort of stuck a little bit more than the walking has.
Yeah, and she's become more aware each time that She does not like that procedure, so it's been just a little bit more difficult. When Curtis went this last time, Natalie was just asking good questions, even in front of the doctor, and just his perspective on Natalie's questions and just the thought process and the understanding that went into Natalie's questions. He was just blown away, which is obviously awesome for us to hear, as Natalie was not even talking this time last year, and now you're seeing comprehension and asking these questions that show not only taking things in, but putting it out and asking why and how has been really amazing. And the last thing we've kind of stuck with is the hyperbaric chamber, which Titus helps us out. He's such a trooper. He goes in there with her and they listen to some books and listen to the Bible and take some toys, and then they get to watch some TV at the end. So he's all for it because he gets his TV time. But we're really appreciative that he helps facilitate that so that Natalie's not in there alone. And yeah, just continue to do that for 18 months now. We have a hyperbaric chamber in our room.
So the hyperbaric chamber is like a little coffin. You like hop in this little thing, and the whole
like 18 inches.
Yeah, I mean they make bigger ones, but they obviously cost a lot more. But essentially, what a hyperbaric chamber is doing the opposite of what opening a soda can. I'm going to use a Coke illustration because I use Coke, right? So you pop open that soda can, and all of the pressure comes out, carbonation, all that kind of stuff, and then you're able to drink it. Take all of that and put it back in the can, and that's really what hyperbaric chamber is doing. You're getting oxygen in there, so pure oxygen's flowing in there. You have a concentrator, and with that pure oxygen, you're being able to breathe it in. Oxygen is really a healer, and then the pressure, 1.3 atmospheric pressures, putting your body under that pressure and dealing with inflammation. So there is actually like physiologically changes happening when you're putting yourself under that pressure, and it's flooding your red blood cells who are carriers of oxygen, and then getting into your plasma, and then that is the process of dealing with inflammation, and then the oxygen getting to places in order to help heal. So we've seen huge amounts of really healing, and we notice actually when we don't use the hyperbaric chamber, she's a little bit more jittery, her balance is off, and so we've seen for her, and it doesn't work the same for everybody obviously, but we've seen for Natalie that the hyperbaric chamber has been a huge game changer for her.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest struggles that she has is just that small involuntary movement. If she's sitting on your lap, you can tell she's constantly doing tweaks and jerks, and if she's trying to write, her hand will jerk away from her. When we do the hyperbaric chamber, I'd say it really calms her nervous system and just allows her to be in a more relaxed state, which obviously allows her body to hold even calories and all those different things, not expend as much energy on just trying to hold up her body. And even when they were sick over the last 6 or so weeks, that just makes it a huge challenge, whether Titus is sick or Natalie is sick, because that pressure is just like going up in a plane. It can be super painful and super uncomfortable, so we try not to do it when either of them are sick. So it's forced us to kind of take a longer break than we had anticipated.
And essentially with a brain injury, it's about the nervous system, right? It's not being able to talk correctly, and so things are firing and misfiring, and things are firing and it's not telling your body what to do, so you're constantly always in new pathways and that kind of stuff. So the more clear connections can be relearned, the more your body can quote unquote be like in that normal state. You want your body not to constantly be going back and forth. You want it to be able to be in a homeostasis, right? Like to be able to be in that state where you're not fighting with it back and forth. We use a thing called a PEMF mat, pulse electromagnetic field, right? It's called grounding, and that really seems to calm her and really help with those different connections and that kind of stuff. So
at home, we use a laser that we have, a cold laser therapy.
Cold laser therapy is all about creating ATP in the mitochondrial, and so creating good energy creates good functionality. And so if you have bad, not a good creation, not healthy cells, they don't create good energy. If you don't create good energy, you're not creating good connections and the synapses and the neurons firing and all that kind of stuff. So the cold laser therapy is helping to create that ATP, which creates good cell situations, and good cell situations creates good functionality. Functionality is everything. It's how you move your hand and tell it what to do, and when your brain says something, it actually happens and it fires, and that's really what you're doing.
Every week we have her occupational therapy and physical therapy, speech therapy, her teacher coming in just to spend hours with her each week to help us as we continually help her in each therapy. And so the team has just been such a huge blessing as they work with her and challenge her and push her and give us a little break from being the steam behind the engine.
We are so unbelievably grateful for all of your support and prayers, and we totally recognize that it's God who heals, and it's God who is the author and the perfecter of that healing. But we also know the means by which God does a lot of things, and He's given us those opportunities. And it has been kind of sweet. Like, we've had people actually start coming to us, and we're using some of our gear and equipment in order to try and bless and serve and be good stewards of what God has given us through your donations and your help. So
Yeah.
we are so grateful for all of that.
So thankful that you guys have been Jesus' hands and feet for us, and it's been such a blessing that when we see something that we really feel like can help Natalie, that it doesn't have to be the funds that immediately stop that. And it's been, Curtis is right, we see lots of kiddos that just can't get the help that they need just yet because the funds are preventing it. But you know what, we also see kiddos that dealt with a shorter time in cardiac arrest than Natalie, and those families are just struggling. God hasn't chosen to heal their kids, and we do our best to minister to them and encourage them. But even for us, we don't know why God's chosen to, first of all, let this happen to Natalie, but now be healing her in such a miraculous way. These other families that we see are hurting and they're struggling, and we do our best to encourage them as much as we can because Natalie is a miracle. These other families literally look at us like there's no way you were told the same thing that I was. And we have to say, yes, we were. Like, Natalie was there. Natalie was in the same state as your kiddo. And we don't know why. We don't know that we've done anything different. But God has chosen to do a miracle in Natalie. And I think the greatest hope we have is that she will testify of that through her life and use it as just an opportunity to tell people about Christ.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about providence, it's kind of a hindsight's 2020. You kind of look back upon God's providence and see His handiwork. And I remember at the very beginning, one of our prayers was, when we knew Natalie wasn't going to die, one of our prayers was, would you allow her to talk? Like, would you just allow her to be like a Johnny Erickson Tata?
That's what we said. Johnny Erickson Tata, laugh, smile, and talk.
Yep, laugh, smile, and talk. And today, she laughs, smiles, and talks. So don't ask for so little, right? I mean, I think so often we're just like hopeful for this. But God,
people looked at us like we were crazy
Absolutely.
when we told them that. 100%. We had doctors and nurses look at us with sympathy like we were crazy when we would tell them those were the three things we hoped for.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of the prayer requests, it is one thing for mommy and daddy to hold tightly to the providence of God. It's a whole nother reality for a 7-year-old to hold tightly to the providence of God. So that is one of the big prayer requests. That the beauty about Johnny Erickson Tata is that she's faithful. She was faithful when the accident happened, and she has continued to walk faithfully with the Lord, and that's why she's had such a powerful impact for the glory of God. And so it's a huge prayer request, is that Natalie and our family would be faithful. We're only 2 years in. This is not a one more year. So there's still lots and lots of things that have to take place. And so we're just praying and ask that Natalie will walk faithfully with Jesus and proclaim His name.
And she's getting it. She was memorizing one of the verses for Awana, in everything give thanks. And so I just said to her, Natalie, does this mean that we give thanks for what's happened to you? And she just said, but I got a brain owie. Like, Mommy, how could I give thanks for this? And I just said, this doesn't mean that we have to be happy about it, but it does mean that we give Him thanks and that we know that He's in control and we praise Him. And I was saying that as much to my heart as to her heart, thankful for those opportunities that she can articulate. Like, hey, that doesn't make sense. How do I give thanks for this? And still walk with her and talk her through the fact that God loves her and cares for her, and there's something bigger than just us going on here. So obviously one of the biggest things that I think has just given our heart peace is the fact that Natalie can talk again, that we can carry on conversation with her, ask her questions, get her response. Even last year, it was, you had to give her quite a few seconds to think about what she wanted to say and even try to say it. It was very low volume. If I was in the car with her, there was no way I could hear her with the sound of the car going. But now she's gotten much better volume, much better breath control where she can get out a full sentence.
Yeah, I mean, we really went, she was, at the injury, no talking. I mean, and that was...
Couldn't even get her tongue past her teeth.
Yep, and so we had to start trying to learn some sign language, and we had Uncle Dave come in and start teaching us some sign language, and even...
Becky did those videos?
Becky did the videos, and we went from that, and then into January...
She had the stem cells in January, so February into March she started that, like, baby babble and 1 or 2 words, quiet, very quiet. Like, there was times that I would record her saying it, because it would be so broken up that you couldn't even smash it together enough to be able to comprehend what she was trying to say. Would even be very quiet with other people. She would talk more around us, but not be super comfortable with other people. But even now she's starting to talk more in front of other people, which is super encouraging.
You can have a conversation. I mean, there is an ability to kind of throw the ball, she catches it and kind of throws it back, and it is unbelievable, the ability to relationally go back and forth and have that with her.
Well, and even just joking with the family, it's always like a joke for us that Curtis likes to eat breakfast on the floor. So the other morning she wanted to sit with him and eat on the floor, and Colton like spills this bowl of milk everywhere on at the bench where they usually sit. And out of nowhere, Natalie goes, "And that's why I'm sitting on the floor." We all just start laughing because it was just timely, in the perfect moment. She got what had happened. She had got that she was supposed to be up there, that she would have had milk spilled all over her, and she's like, "You guys are crazy. That's why I'm sitting on the floor." So it's fun to see her joke with us, have her witty sayings and sassy sayings at times, and sweet sayings. She asked me the other night, to explain what happened again, and as we're talking and explaining, I'm saying, this is what happened to your heart, and this is that your heart was hurt. And it was so amazing to me because she just looked at me and she said, "But then how did I get a brain owie?" And I thought, wow, that comprehension is so amazing to understand. Like, yeah, Mom, you're telling me something happened here, but I don't understand how something happened here. And I was driving with the girls a couple weeks ago, and Haven just said to her, "Natalie, do you remember what happened during your surgery?" And it was just quiet in the car, just listening in, and felt like an observer to Natalie just telling Haven, like, I was asleep, I don't remember, but we've talked about it so many times. She just seamlessly went into explaining to Haven what happened, and Haven's asking her questions and Natalie's answering, and it was just like one of those beautiful moments that you wish you could just pull out your phone and record it, but it'll just ruin the moment. So you just sit and I had parked at that point, so just sit and listening to my girls just talk back and forth and interact has been super precious.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Haven had said at the beginning is, will Natalie ever talk again? Will she ever be my friend again?
My sister.
My sister.
Will she be my sister again? Those are hard questions to answer.
Yeah, but God's been gracious, and He's been faithful, and He is,
Haven doesn't even remember. Natalie asked to see some videos the other day of her in the hospital, and Haven said, "Why isn't she talking?" So, I mean, for her, she doesn't even remember Natalie not talking. I guess that's God's grace on her heart that she doesn't have to remember. It's been cool for Natalie. She is eating on her own. She's drinking on her own. She still has the G-tube. She hasn't passed the swallow study, so we still have it in, but I think she's at the point that she would be ready and able to do that. Just even improved feeding herself on her own. It used to be much more difficult with that involuntary movement, just getting a spoon and a fork to her mouth. So it's cool to see her have the strength and the ability to just feed herself so that we're not having to help her.
One of the things that we are with Dr. P, he's the stem cell doctor, and after this last time we went with him, he was just in awe of the healing that he's seen, and her writing some stuff on the paper, and man, he said he's done a lot of these, and he says it's not very often that he's seeing the growth that Natalie's having. And so you just get a chance to say praise God, and you get a chance to thank the community for knocking on the door, right? Being the widow who keeps, knocking to the unjust judge, because we don't have an unjust. He is so kind and gracious and loving, and it's been amazing to kind of walk through that. I mean, she's memorizing verses. I mean,
Yeah.
she finished a book in her Awana. It's pretty cool when she gets so excited. The more that she gets a chance to be, quote unquote, a normal kid, I think she gets really, really excited about that. You can see her light up.
Yeah, memorizing, singing. I'll just hear her little voice singing in the background. I was telling Curtis, we've really enjoyed the song, Never Once Have I Ever Walked Alone, and I put it on in the car the other day, and I just look back, and she's just raising her sweet little hands, singing it. I was like, oh my goodness. Just super precious to hear her singing those words, and even raising her own hands in the car, just praising Jesus with us has been an amazing blessing.
Well, you find to be very important as well as just mobility, being able to do things and get to places. And, she really went from quadriplegic kind of stuff. I mean, couldn't do anything, couldn't even deal with saliva. She was choking on that, to where she is today, where, I mean, she's standing on her own. We kind of time her at night, and she has to stand for, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and she gets really excited. I mean, she's at this weird stage as well, but she's like doing it and then suddenly doesn't. And she just tumbles down, and then she gets really frustrated. I didn't catch her, or I didn't, this or that.
She's getting nervous. Like, sometimes she'll be very confident, sometimes she'll be more scared.
So it used to be kind of on her tippy toes, and as we've been able to reintegrate, I think, the Babinski and the foot tendon guard, those primitive reflexes, that she's getting, those feet are flat now, and it's still the left one turns in. Her left side is definitely the weaker side because of where the brain injury kind of solidified itself. But she is walking. You can kind of, with a pinky, she can sort of just hold and do it that way. When she's feeling confident, you just kind of stand behind her. We're at Mom and Dad's house today, and our house is not very walking friendly. It's kind of the small,
Tri-level.
It's steps everywhere, and she definitely doesn't do steps yet very well. So when you get to a place where there's like long hallways, it's much easier. I think good practice in that kind of stuff.
She can't turn very well. If she turns, she kind of loses her balance.
But it kind of goes back to, because some of you, I mean, a lot of you saw the video at Dr. Bohr's. I mean, she's legitimately walking. And so again, it's the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. She's definitely further along than before, but it kind of goes back and forth. And so what needs to happen next is balance. So her balance has to work, and a lot of it's actually eye stuff, working through that Dr. Bohr does. And then confidence. I think confidence. She definitely does better when she does not have shoes on and does not have socks on. The receptors in the feet, when you're actually touching the ground, she feels it better, and so her gait is a little bit better. She kind of gets off balance when she has shoes on sometimes with that. But
I kind of referenced on the Facebook the orthopedist, just how impressed he was with her improvement of balance, and just that he said once there's a neurological damage and that balance is lost, you hardly ever get it back. So he was so encouraging that in 2 years, Natalie has gained that back and is continuing to progress and get stronger and stronger. When she was in the hospital and in pain, they were trying to keep her in braces because her feet would just be pointed and in tension so much that they were stuck there. So the fact that her foot can go back to 90 and farther is really amazing.
I think one of the we did was we got carpet in our living room. I think that really helped because it gave her a safer place to kind of tumble and try and get up on the couch and that kind of stuff. She does like little planks now. When she's like in the groove, like the things that she does is unbelievable. She's a 7-year-old girl, and she wants to play sometimes, and she doesn't want to do therapy, and so you kind of battle back and forth like, can you do this? Can you not do this? Are you just wanting to play? Are you trying to get out of it? And so those are kind of some of the things. But when she's in the groove, like she was doing planks the other day, and oh, look, Daddy, I'm doing a plank. And she was doing this thing on the couch. It was really funny. She's like, look, I'm jumping. And she like on the couch just bounces up and down. You're like, are you going to fall? And she's just laughing. But she's a little 7-year-old girl. And so I think some of the best, and as a parent, you have to remember this, some of the best therapy is just play. Sometimes we actually don't get in certain quote unquote therapies because the kids are like playing really well. And you're just like,
I can't do it.
just leave them. Just let them play.
Yeah, I mean, she's playing really well with all of her siblings, and you're back to like the normal, typical sibling spats and I don't want to play with her. She took the toy. She won't play nice. She's being mean, and getting to deal with all of that again is miserable and fun all at the same time. You know, you weren't sure she would ever be able to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's really cute to see Natalie and Colton just love on each other. And I mean, especially for him, we didn't know who or what he would know Natalie as. He's talking to her. It's really sweet. I love you, Natalie. They just love on each other and care about each other and give each other hugs and kisses. So it's fun to see them play and take care of each other.
So next up for her for walking is probably just better balance and confidence. I think those are probably the two things that really need to go for the next stage. So hopefully next year at this time, like she's like...
That's her goal for 2023. She
Yeah.
told her OT her goal is to walk on her own.
Yeah. So you can be praying for that.
She would love that to happen too. One of the amazing things just for me to see as we work every day is just Natalie doing her schoolwork. It's fun to be able to hand her some of her schoolwork now and just let her do it on her own. Obviously, we're making corrections and it's not perfect. Her handwriting is still has some improvement to make, but before you could like barely see the pencil on the page and she would fatigue really quickly. So to finish a whole schoolwork set took a really long time, or we would just end up abandoning it after she was too tired. But now she'll sit there and work diligently. She loves to do it on her own. She'll ask to do it on her own. Just her hand strength has really improved with her right hand. With her teacher, she's been dictating personal stories, and her teacher writes them down. So that's been really fun to see what she wants to talk about and come up with together with her teacher. And she's doing two-digit addition and even carrying over into the 10 spot. So she's doing just some really significant things. Up until this point, she's been pretty resistant to reading or not too interested. And just in the last couple weeks, she's really taken off with asking to read and desiring to read, which has been so cool for me to see her just catch on to that. Like, this can be fun, and I'm just really excited for her to hopefully see that she can use her imagination and experience other things by being able to read on her own and pick up a book. And as she's starting to pick up those little sentences, she gets so excited. I'm doing it, I read it. So it's been really fun to see her enthusiasm for it pick up, and hopefully will continue.
We have this special bicycle from Amtrak, and it's like a tricycle, and you Velcro your feet into it and this and that. But she can do it. And Daddy, I'm doing it. That's been really exciting to watch her have those little light bulb moments where it's I can do this. Deanne has done just an amazing job, the day in, day out, giving her and challenging her to keep going forward. So that's been really, really cool.
We've been super blessed with ladies that come each day to help me, or families that come and help me just facilitate schoolwork, and we try to finish it in that morning to lunchtime. So it's so helpful to have friends and family come in and facilitate those throughout the day. It's a huge blessing to me to just not try to manage it all on my own, with Colton causing chaos too in the background. So I'm just super grateful for those people that have just stepped in to fill in the gap and bless us with their time. It's really made life a lot easier that they give us the gift of their time and makes our school mornings a lot less stressful.
The network that we have, the community with our church family and Facebook community, you have people typing, they say like my daughter or my kid or my, they you guys have owned Natalie, and you've taken her on and you're praying for her, and that's really just unbelievable and special. But talk a little bit about the nurses and the special relationships that we've been able to stay in touch with people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have several nurses that have just maintained interaction with us. We get to see some of them when we go out of town where they live. We've gone to Disneyland with one of them. But yeah, they are just so thrilled when they get to see Natalie, and it's just a unique bond. I remember saying to one of my close friends last year, even with the heart doctor, there's just an intimacy of heart that you can't really describe, because they just went through the depths of this tragedy with us. That interaction has continued, and I think they're blessed by seeing Natalie's growth and strength, and we've just tried to maintain interaction with them to encourage them and let them know that we love them and care about them. One of her appointments, we went back and was able to take her to one of the floors that she was on, and we saw probably 7 or 8 nurses. They kind of just all came into the hallway and met us there, and it was so sweet. We brought T-shirts and stuff for them. So it's just been really an encouragement for us, and I hope for them to just maintain interaction and texting and catching up. I've met some of them at Starbucks with Natalie, and some of them have had babies or are pregnant, so just getting a chance to just love on them and share in what God's doing in their lives. It was actually really sweet. We've continued to maintain friendship with the heart doctor, and the other night, I'm getting Natalie ready for bed, and she has a picture of him in her room with her, and she just says, "Mommy, can I tell you something?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "When I'm with the doctor, he makes me feel special." And I just said, "Oh, why does he make you feel special?" And she said, "'Cause he holds me and walks with me." And it was just really sweet. We sent him a message letting him know that she shared that. And it's just really amazing to see how God has just, her heart is just drawn to him. She knows that he was in the procedure and what happened. She can tell you that. And I think it's really sweet that God has just maintained that steadfast care for that between them that they have for one another. It's just really, really sweet to see. And he's been so sweet to us. Just loves on us, and he and his wife and their kids. We just have had a really sweet interaction with them.
That's amazing how much, when you go through something together, it does bond you. And to be able to have him, he reached out once a week is hardly ever misses a week. But where there's communication, there's interaction, there's how are you doing, how you doing. His oldest is off to college now, and just to be able to kind of see life and see, okay, God, why did you bond us together? What does that look like? Where does the gospel lead, and how do we just love really well inside the community and be your hands and your feet? And I think that's in all the relationships. I think that's really what God is doing. He's having us be on a journey. He's having you guys be on a journey, and it's who do you impact and how do you impact? And our story might be completely different than your story, but the story is us being reconcilers. The story is us being able to love on people and serve people, and it's really been amazing to see how difficult things have brought about so many different relationships that we would never have had if this particular situation didn't happen.
Well, I think that was one of the hard things for us when it did happen, is wondering what Natalie's relationship would be with her siblings. She had that interaction really with Titus and Haven. Colton was not even 1 yet when everything happened. So she obviously loved on him, but a lot of her interaction was telling her, be gentle, not too rough, not too much, put him down. So we really looked at it like, man, how is this going to play out? Is she going to be able to play with them, be with them, talk with them? How do you explain this to them when all of it was a big unknown? We didn't know what she would be able to do or what she would be able to say, or we meet those other families that the siblings are trying to play with the kiddo with the brain injury, and they're just not aware. They're not aware that their sibling's there, and it just breaks your heart. It just breaks your heart to see them trying to interact with their sibling and wanting to play. So as we've seen Natalie burst with joy and excitement, she says all the time, Haven's not playing with me. Just wanting to play with her siblings, wrestling around with them, being silly with them, grabbing on them,
Karate kicking them.
She and Titus like to goof around a lot and rough and tumble. But just seeing her feed Colton feeding her, just all the typical kid stuff, it has been so sweet. She and Titus are just very close, and you can tell that it's been come full circle for him to be able to enjoy her and play with her, and to get to see them interact. They just have a love and a care for one another that's just very precious. And she and Haven have more of a love-hate relationship, probably. They share a room, so sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's not. And she and Colton are super cute together. It's been a huge blessing to see her down on the floor, and exactly what Curtis said, when you see her playing and enjoying, and it's time for therapies or she has something coming up, it's I don't want to like take her away from being able to play and do things with them. She and Haven were playing the other day, and it was time to do the chamber, so I got her in, and there's a little window. So she and Haven are still playing with their princesses through the window. So they could still play together. But it is just a sweet gift.
Yeah.
See them play in the bathtub or see them playing outside. It has just been a blessing to see that restored and see them both loving and fighting on one another.
Yeah, some of the things I think maybe some prayer requests is we see all throughout Scripture how favoritism can destroy families. And it's so difficult because Natalie needs so much time. We really have to be careful. Natalie has a Facebook page, for goodness sake, right? So you have all these things that maybe Natalie has or she gets something and the other siblings don't. And, those kind of things that we have to be really careful with and kind of navigate that. And so that's definitely a big prayer request to figure out how do you make sure that the kids get time, and it's not always Natalie and Natalie's needs and Natalie's this and Natalie's that, but really to be able to love on all four kids really well so that they know that kind of that father and mother love that we have for them.
The goal is that they will be able to testify of God's goodness even through not necessarily being Natalie, but being a part of this story and being able to say, like, hey, let's use this for God's glory and goodness and testify of what he's done, not to ever feel bitter or hurt, but for them to also be able to use our family story, not just Natalie's story, for God's glory, to share the gospel.
Yeah. Today is the launch of When Life Crumbles, and what a crazy thing that we have a book. Like, that's unbelievable, but so many people, and Pamela Caldwell specifically, and I know she doesn't want her name out there, so I'm throwing
love you,
it out
Grammy
there.
Pammy.
Love you, Grammy Pammy. Just really spearheaded this whole thing and took a lot of the stuff, put it together. So we have a devotional that's coming out today, and the goal of the devotional is just to try to encourage people. When people go through things and suffer and the difficulties that hopefully our story and the words that God gave us through that time and the scripture and the prayers would lead others in order to trust Christ and love him and cling to him and cry with him. And it's suffering is not pretty, but it's a real thing that we all go through. And
I think it was an element of when we were living in the depths of the tragedy, like, you're just looking for other people's stories that you can relate to, because you feel like there's not much you can relate to at that point. And the devotional really covers more of the hospital stint and that time more than anything else. So just trying to encourage people that are in the depths of a tragedy that you can cling to your Savior and that you're not alone, that there's beauty in the brokenness, and that it's okay to struggle, and that it's okay to mourn and be where you are for a time, and to continue to seek your Savior. Seek the Lord who is with you even when you feel like he's not. And so we hope it's encouragement. And I do want to thank Pamela for all she's done. It would have never happened without her. And I was really hands off on it with it until the end. And then I read it and took all my crazy notes, and she was so gracious to accept all my crazy changes and tweaks. And she has just been so gracious to take on this project. So thank you, Pamela.
And the hope of the book is that devotional is that the comfort that we have received, that we be able to comfort others during their tragedies, and then be able to use the income from the book in order to pay for all the therapies and hopefully watch Natalie continue to grow and all that kind of stuff. So we're so grateful to be able to hopefully bless others and encourage them in their trials and their tribulations.
Come here, girl. Boom.
But,
Gotcha.
but,
So we just wanted to get a chance for you guys to see Natalie a little bit more.
Can you say
Hey.
hi?
hi,
How old are you?
7.
When's your birthday?
August 7.
How old are you going to be this year?
8.
You're right.
8.
Who's this guy over here next to you?
But
Who is it?
he's going to turn 10 tomorrow.
Oh, you're right. He's going to turn 10 tomorrow.
I'm turning 10 tomorrow.
Hey, who are your other siblings?
Haven and Colton.
How old's Haven?
Colton is crazy.
Crazy.
How old's Haven?
Haven is 4.
What? Is what?
5. Yes.
What's one word to describe Haven?
She's crazy.
Are they all crazy?
Those 2 are crazy.
Those two are crazy. What are you and Titus?
And like calm.
Like calm.
I am not calm. I can tell you that.
So we wanted to get a chance to ask you like a couple questions that maybe you can just tell people some of your own story. Hey, don't throw.
Oh.
Don't throw. Don't be crazy.
Everything's
Hey, can I ask you something? Can you tell people what you remember about the hospital and your surgery? Can you tell us what happened?
I went and walked the patient job and after gently perforated my heart. That's
But then what happened? What happened up here?
Natalie.
Why?
What?
Why did you get a brain owie? Remember what we talked about? What wasn't your brain getting?
Oxygen.
Yeah. What takes the oxygen up to your brain?
Blood.
Yeah.
No
Do you remember?
blood.
Do you remember anything about that day
No.
or the hospital? What do you remember about the hospital?
I remember Dr. B.
The heart doctor? And do you remember anybody else? Do you remember anybody else or anything else?
No.
No.
Next.
No. What? How do you feel about all these people praying for you?
Good.
Is there anything that you want to tell them? Maybe something specific that you would like them to pray for?
My friend Natalie.
But what's something specific that you would like to do? What's your goal for this year?
Walk.
You want to walk with help?
No.
Walk with what?
Just me.
Just you. That sounds like a good idea, huh? What do you think you're looking forward to doing the most besides walking? What's something that you look forward to doing?
Playing, getting up, 5 a.m.
Are there any activities that you look forward to doing again?
I don't really know.
What about, would you like Daddy to coach your soccer team or something?
Yeah.
Would that be funny?
Yeah.
Or at least take you to the park and you guys could kick the soccer ball around?
Yeah.
Hey, Natalie, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A doctor.
A doctor.
What type of doctor?
I am a doctor.
You're like the ever-changing occupation these days.
It used to be a heart doctor, and now it's an animal doctor.
A specific animal?
His monkeys?
I look like you.
What?
Oh, monkeys? Can you fix my neck? I broke my neck.
I can't do that
Oh, why?
because I don't know how to fix stuff.
Oh.
You don't know how to fix stuffed animals?
That's Grammy's job, huh?
Yeah.
What are some things that really frustrate you during this whole situation?
You're holding him.
You holding her hand?
Yeah.
Why? You want us to let you fall down?
No. I just want to walk like him.
Good goal to have, though. Do you feel like you're getting closer to doing that?
Yeah. What?
It's not going on.
What are some things that you're enjoying doing again? What's some things that you've started to do again that you're excited about?
I don't.
You don't know. What about taking crazy baths with Haven?
You guys take long baths.
2-hour-long baths. 2
like-
hours.
I like baths.
What about riding your bike?
Riding my bike.
What about something with Titus? What's something you like to do with Titus?
Play with him. Play with the stuff down the road.
What did you guys do this morning? You guys got something crazy out this morning. What did you put in the kitchen this morning?
Brother.
A trap.
A car track and you took over the whole kitchen. Oh,
I like it.
we could probably blame that on Mr. Clint because it was the Grand Prix last night. Hey, what place did you get in the Grand Prix? Third?
What was the name of your car?
Christmas for me was
What did you do when I took your picture with it? What did you say?
Christmas.
No, but what did you made a noise? Did you go ka-chow?
That's Lightning McQueen's. That's my car. I have Lightning McQueen.
She's stealing it.
No, Lightning McQueen has ka-chow. Nobody can steal ka-chow.
What is do you have maybe a verse that you could tell us? Do you have maybe one of your Awana verses you could tell us?
Can you do the John 1 through 3 with me? In the beginning. Was God. He was.
God at the beginning.
I think we missed a little part, but through him.
Put him off from me. Put out of help him with me. The heaven me.
Good job. Woo!
If you were to have any color in the world, what color would it be?
Just one.
Color.
Just one. You can only pick one color.
Red, orange, blue, purple, white, black,
I
pink.
love it.
No, I said one. One.
No, I love it.
That's not one.
Rainbow?
though.
Is rainbow a color?
I like rainbow. Rainbow.
Titus, what's one of the biggest things that you've noticed that Natalie does better this year than last year?
Her walking and her speech.
What are you most excited for her to do?
Run so that she can play tag with us.
Ooh. Are you gonna play tag? You're gonna have to practice. You're it.
Do it.
You're it. Tag, you're it. No, tag, no tag backs.
No tag.
No, I said no tag backs first. That's
No
all.
tag.
I said no tag backs first, though.
All right, don't fight. Don't
Okay,
fight.
okay.
Don't.
That's where the vampire comes out.
Vampire.
You want to show him your tooth that you lost?
Oh,
I
brother.
love her too.
What did you want this morning at lunch today?
Oh.
So that you could practice. What'd you ask for? A normal cup or a cup with what?
Well, that I can stick forward.
You wanted to drink through what?
I too.
Your big old gap?
My big old gap
Where did you lose that tooth?
on the potty.
Is that your lose the tooth area? I think that's not your first potty tooth.
That's her second.
That's it. Yeah, gap.
Here's your second.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Wanna walk back? Go get Daddy.
Nice and steady. Keep those feet
balance.
correct. Balance first.
Hold on.
Get that left foot correct.
Ooh, there you go.
Okay, how about you just stand here for a sec? 1 minute.
Ooh.
1 minute. Stand.
I'm not ready.
You ready now?
I am now.
You are now? Well, you can't use the chair, you big cheater.
We just want to thank you for joining us on this 2-year anniversary, and just it's hard not to just think ahead to what the 3-year anniversary will include and entail, and hopefully it entails what? What's your goal for this year?
Walk.
Walking all on her own. Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Why do you think God let this happen?
Because he wanted to do something special for me. And I can talk all about it.
And what can you tell people about, because you have a special story?
Yeah.
Maybe tell them about Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah. People need to hear about Jesus, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you know Jesus?
Yeah.
Have you trusted in him as your Savior?
Was I 5 or 4?
I think you were 4.
4 or 5.
4 or 5. Well, I know that Curtis's goal last year, or prayer, was that Natalie would be able to share what happened all on her own. And so we praise him that she was able to do that today. Thanks for joining us, Natalie.
Welcome,
We love you.
baby.
Love you.
Thank you for praying for me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Continue to pray.
God bless.